I'm Mark Halperin. Welcome to Wide World of News, a very special edition, pretty much an annual tradition here. We tee up what is a great American tradition for real, the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest. It's an annual event that takes place in Coney Island in Brooklyn, USA. In 2020, the event went on under different circumstances than usual. Joining me now to set up our discussion today, my Walking Duck colleague, Paul Wilke. Paul.
Thanks, Mark. It doesn't get any better than this. Hot dogs, 4th of July, sunshine, lots of people. 4th of July 2021, a red, white, and blue return to normal. For the Nathan's International Hot Dog Eating Contest, though, don't call it a comeback. It never went away. This time last year, the U.S. was in a pandemic lockdown with workplaces and most aspects of daily life shuttered. One institution didn't accept this and found a way safely to keep the mustard flowing.
All our worlds have changed. Today there is no sea of fans to rise above, no carnival-like atmosphere. But we will not stand down. We never have. Go!
The organizers of the event, Major League Eating, created a 2020 event without crowds, a commitment to safe, competitive eating, and a strong desire to keep the tradition alive. A tradition which, depending who you ask, dates back to 1916 as a contest to see who was the most patriotic. Since then, it's been viewed by some as a tentpole of summer and by others a sign of American gluttony. At its simplest, a celebration of people shoving tube steaks down their gullets. With men's champion Joey Chestnut set to step up to the plate yet again, the 2021 Nathan's International Hot Dog Eating Contest has emerged as something even bigger than its bubund origins, a national pastime, the holy grail of competitive eating competitions, and a survivor.
Paul, thank you very much. And joining us now, one of the impresarios of this important American tradition, Richard Shea, who has been involved in putting this event on for many years. He joined us last year and he joins us again. Richard, tell us what's gone on between the last time we talked after you had your successful event, one of the first successful events to be done the way you did it during the heart of the pandemic. Tell me what's gone on in the run up to this year's return to normalcy.
Well, it's we're not quite normal, but we are going to have a crowd this year. We had a very quiet year, obviously, in Major League Eating. As you referenced, we did get the 4th of July event off last year. So we did it indoors with no crowd, and typically it's out of doors on the corner of Surf and Stillwell Avenues in Coney Island with a crowd of 35 some odd thousand people. So it was a much different thing. It felt like a controlled study, almost like a studio event. But we had great event and 2 new world records. So Joey Chestnut secured his 13th title and ate 75 Nathan's hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. And Mickey Sudo in the ladies round ate 48 and a half, a new world record, and got her 6th title. So being indoors and in the air conditioning, I think helped the eaters, but it didn't feel the same. This year, now that things are opening up, it'll feel a lot better. I think we'll have a crowd. We don't know exactly the size. So we're going to be outside in Coney Island in a ballpark where the Brooklyn Cyclones play, minor league ball. Beautiful ballpark right alongside Nathan's famous flagship. And right now we think it'll be about 3,000 people, but the way New York is going, I think we'll get to full capacity, which is just over 6,000.
So it's live on ESPN on July 4th, noon Eastern time, so people can enjoy it from the comforts of their own home or wherever they watch ESPN. But for those there in-person contestants and personnel and spectators, are vaccines required?
Yeah, so everyone on the field to be vaccinated. Right now in New York City, they allow audience members to not be vaccinated. So you're segmented by vax, no vax. So that's what we're operating on right now. So there'll be very likely a primarily vaccinated crowd with a non-vaccinated section. But again, we're not 100% sure just yet. Every day, things change.
You mentioned your 2 champions. What is the handicapping? How likely is it that our returning champions become returning champions again?
Well, it's interesting. First, I'll start with Joey Chestnut, 13-time mustard yellow belt champion. Very likely to win again. I don't know. The odds will present themselves morning of, very likely via DraftKings. But Joey very likely will win again. He's kind of untouchable in in hot dogs. That said, we did do a few events over the year, the crazy pandemic year. We did a candy eating competition with DraftKings. We did a Super Bowl themed eating contest and a popcorn eating contest. And actually, Joey lost in all three of those events, which is certainly a surprise. But I think when it comes to hot dogs, he's pretty much untouchable. He just that's his game. It's unbelievable. And then we actually won't have the female champ Mickey Sudo, who's won 6 years in a row. She's pregnant, so she's paired off with Nick Wary, the #5 ranked male in the world. They are engaged. They actually got engaged live on one of our streams earlier this year, and so she's not competing.
Did they meet in the competition?
They did. They're competitive eaters who met on the circuit. You know, sometimes we're on the road, it's like the Olympic Village. You know, these guys they're traveling together. They're all in the same hotel, and they fell in love.
Nothing says love and romance as much as a hot dog.
That's true.
I think. So she's not coming back. So who are the favorites on the women's side?
I think the odds-on favorite is a lady named Michelle Lesko from Tucson, Arizona. She's a veteran competitor, the #2 ranked female in the world. And I think Michelle, who couldn't compete last year due to quarantine issues where they wouldn't allow, Cuomo wouldn't allow people from Arizona into New York. So she'll be back. She missed a year. I think she'll probably win.
All right, you mentioned DraftKings, one of your new sponsors this year. You've got one other new sponsor. Explain to folks who it is and what the connection is to the competition. DraftKings, obvious, but
so we've been lucky to have DraftKings, especially over the last year, and do those 3 events with them. And we're welcoming Bounty,
the quicker picker upper.
Yes.
So will that be the napkin of record for the competition?
That will certainly be. They're going to have a whole cleaning station, and it's interesting. You know, when you bring that to sport, we would call it a hand-mouth coordination, or the table to the mouth speed. I'm going to try to get a little bug in there to see how quickly Joey and the other eaters can get from table to mouth with their food. But the Bounty Quicker Picker Upper will be on board this year, along, of course, with our primary sponsor, Nathan's.
You know, last year, of course, hygiene and personal safety was first and foremost. I want to go back to the 2020 event a little bit and talk a little bit about what you did to make sure the eaters were safe.
Yeah, well, so that was a tricky year. We didn't have vaccinations yet, so there were tests for all the eaters. We had fewer eaters, and we did it in a controlled environment, which is to say in a room. They were all 6 feet apart. We only had 6 men. So you have a 36-foot table. We had plexiglass in between the eaters. You know, it was definitely a different year. We allowed very limited media, very limited crew. So the crew clears before the contest. So you can only have so many people in the room, even though it was a very big sort of warehousey like room. And we were able to get the event off, which was certainly great to keep the 4th of July tradition going.
With regard to the event last year, one of the things that impressed me was that you guys were one of the first events that you know kept going and did not stop it for the pandemic. What did you learn through that process, and also any other events that came after yours? Did anyone talk to you about how to pull off a successful event during the pandemic?
I mean, we've been able to do a handful of events. Ours, you know, one great thing about Major League Eating, even though you see the 4th and it's on ESPN and it seems like a big production, and it is, we're actually able to produce things in a very lean way. So you really just need the talent, some food, and ideally a PA system, EMTs, and you're good to go. You know, so it's even lighter than, you know, most rock shows. Even if you're thinking of a garage band in a bar, it's very light production, which is one of the reasons we've been able to we're nimble and we can travel around. I don't know that we learned anything necessarily aside from, you know, just stick to itiveness. You know, you can't stop the 4th of July hot dog eating contest. This will be its 105th year in 2021, and it's going to take something bigger than a pandemic to put us down.
With Joey defending his title, I'm curious, has he revealed his strategy, or in terms of is he going to break the record this year? I mean, at some point, 75 Nathan's hot dogs and buns. As I mentioned, I think that being inside, you know, he had eaten 74 and he got to 75. He would probably say, I don't speak for Joey, but I've heard him speak about this. There's 2 things, you know, indoors, certainly controlled environment, little AC helps as opposed to being outside in the blazing sun. But at the same time, you don't have the crowd. And as any athlete will tell you, when you're doing well, the crowd, you know, buoys you. So I think that, I don't know that we'll see a new world record,
But anything's possible with this guy. Years ago, it was stunning to see Kobayashi eat 50 hot dogs. Joey's made it 75. It's unbelievable.
With the new stadium, does anyone on the roster have a home field advantage that they wouldn't have had before?
Well, they might have a home field advantage. We have Crazy Legs Conti, one of our eaters, is a New Yorker from the East Village. But he, quite admittedly, and I think he'd admit himself, does not have the skills.
Richard, two last questions. First of all,
Yep.
is there a rain date, or do you do this in the rain?
We would do this rain or shine. Yeah, it's just like
Has it ever rained?
It has, but we've been really fortunate. The biggest weather problem we've had in Coney Island on the corner of Surf and Stillwell, where the original Nathan's is heat. We've had some very, very humid, hot days. But we've had little bands of rain come through and we play through it, just like you would at the Derby.
Yeah. Richard, they're called hot dogs, not cold dogs, so no surprise.
Yeah.
Lastly, assuming it's too late to qualify, how do the folks who are competing qualify for this contest?
So we're still in a sort of a pandemic pinch when it comes to qualifying, because typically we go around the country and indeed the world to get eaters to qualify. So we are going off rankings and domestic eaters. So our eaters from the UK and Japan won't be in. It'll be the top 15 or 16 men and the top 15 or 16 women in the US.
It is the granddaddy of them all. It is a great American tradition involving eating, a holiday, and now great American spirit and perseverance. In the face of a worldwide pandemic, Richard Shea and his colleagues go forward. Make sure this event happens. Everybody's looking forward. Again, July 4th, noon Eastern time, live on ESPN. Richard Shea, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Richard.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll see you on July 4th, and we'll see you again back here soon on Wide World of News.